Good day, everyone, especially to our CDI for Traffic Management and Accident Investigation Instructor, Mrs. Ella Bartolome. I am Hannah Grace in Obligar, 3rd year Section C of Criminology, and today I will discuss or report the Chapter 12 entitled Accident Reconstruction. And in this chapter also, we will know all about accident reconstruction, kung ano yung kahulugan nito, kung paano ginagawa ang accident reconstruction at kung sino ang gumagawa ng accident reconstruction and everything about accident reconstruction. So for the introduction and background of an accident reconstruction. So accident reconstruction is done in cases involving fatalities and often when personal injury is already involved. So results from accident reconstruction are also useful in developing recommendations for making the roads and highways safer, and as well as in improving the safety aspects of motor vehicle designs. So these reconstruction are often conducted by forensic engineers, by the specialized units in law enforcement agencies, or by private consultants. So according to the introduction, that accident reconstruction is done when there are injury na natamo ang isang tao from that accident, and most of all, if that accident already caused death towards a person, not just injury, not just damage, but already death. So, but on the other side, accident reconstruction ay hindi lamang nag-i-investigate or nagre-reconstruct ng accident, but it is also a big help in giving recommendations kung saang parte pa ng roads or kalsada or highways ang dapat i-develop at dapat ayusin. So, this type of investigation involves vehicle on fixed objects, or vehicle and pedestrians. So they must rely on forensic evidence such as tire skid marks, scuff marks, or other tire marks to assist in determining what happened in the collision sequence. So in general, the teams try to determine the exact sequence of events that led to the accidents, much like criminal investigators attempt to reconstruct the crimes. So an accident reconstruction is really important para ma-determine ng investigator yung exact sequence or ang pagkakasunod-sunod ng pangyayari, kung saan ang sinimulan, ano ang rason, or what are the factors that can lead into an accident. So that's why accident reconstruction is also connected or parehas ng kung paano ang criminal investigators try to attempt or try to reconstruct a crime. So accident reconstruction is pareho ng kung paano kino-construct ng criminal investigator ang crime. So that is the background or introduction of this chapter. So ano ba talaga ang kahulugan or meaning or definition ng accident reconstruction? So here it is. So an accident reconstruction is the scientific process of investigating, analyzing, and drawing conclusion about the causes and events enduring a vehicle collision. So experts are employed to conduct in-depth analysis to identify the causation and contributing factors in different types of collisions. So including the roles of the driver, vehicle, roadway, and the environment. So an accident reconstruction is not just a simple reconstruction or simple na magre-reconstruct or mag-i-investigate ka lang. But accident reconstruction follows a scientific process. So pag sinabi natin na scientific process, it means merong method na sinusunod in investigating a person na kasangkot in accidents. We'll be able to analyze on what happened during an accident, kung ano yung dahilan at mga factors that led into accidents. So most of all, through accident reconstruction, investigations or investigator, will gonna also be able to draw conclusion or ma-re-image ulit kung ano yung situation before and after an accident. So in accident reconstruction, only experts can be responsible for the investigation or for the analysis, and an ordinary person cannot literally do that. So that experts are the investigators, and they are also had an idea about how to apply the law of physics. So in accident reconstruction is not all about investigation, so it includes science also, and that is the physics, so the engineering principles, and even kinematics. So through it, they will know what are the causes of an accident and the contributing factors. So pag sinabi natin factor, ito yung mga dahilan ng isang aksidente. So for example, nawala ng preno ang isang vehicle or kotse, that can lead or naging dahilan ng pagbangga ng kotse towards another vehicle. So in that situation, the contributing factor is nawalan ng preno ang kotse. So that's why in accident reconstruction is really important, most of all if there are no witnesses during an accident. And also, in accident reconstruction ay mayroong 3 steps na fina-follow ang investigator in doing or making an accident reconstruction. So the first step is the investigation. So in investigation, dito nakapaloob ang scene inspection and as well as a data recovery on where pupunta ang investigator sa scene or lugar na pinangyarihan ng aksidente, kung saan ang investigator ay investigate niya yung scene, the person involved sa aksidente, at yung mga vehicles na ginamit ng mga taong kasangkot sa aksidente. And aside from investigation na gagawin ng investigator, they will also measure the scene, collect evidences such as the photographs, the eyewitnesses, the testimony, and the video collision or the video clips na nanggaling sa CCTV if meron man doon sa lugar na nangyari ang accident or aksidente. So through that video, accidents that happen will already be explained or be given information such as the speed of the vehicle and how accidents takes place. So second steps is the analysis. So in the analysis on where dito mangongolekta ng data ang investigators from that accident, dito na magpo-form ng hypothesis or theory kung saan how that act or accidents takes place. They will also create a model na magtital sa situation and results of an accident. Because of the development of our technology, all these analyzations can be done through computer already, and all of the advanced technology para mas madali ang analysis ng aksidente. And lastly, after the analyzation, the analysis na ginawa ng investigators, the third step will already takes place, and that is the presentation. So, where dito sa third step, kung saan through animation ay ipapakita nila yung sequence or pagkakasunod-sunod ng pangyayari sa accidents. And that through that animation, it will be easy for the lawyers, for the judge, and for the prosecutors to understand the traffic accident that occurred. And also, in the presentation also, where dito na i-compile ng forensic engineers lahat ng mga finding ng investigator from the first step, from the investigation, from the analysis until they will reach the third step. And yun na, gagawa na nila ng animation, i-re-image na nila. In accident reconstruction ay mayroong 5 facts na kinukonsider or dapat tandaan in doing an accident reconstruction for the investigator, because these 5 facts will lead us para malaman natin kung ano ba talaga ang nangyari during an accident. So, here is the first fact. So, intended course of the traffic units involved. Second fact, details of damage to vehicle or injury to pedestrians and their meaning. So, in the second factor or second fact is that on where the investigator will be gonna thoroughly check the details of the damage ng vehicles or ng motor or ng kotse, and as well as the damage in the pedestrian and kung ano yung bagay na nakadamage sa kanila, because damages has a different meaning and as well as different things na pinanggalingan. So in the third fact, on where marks on the road or fixed objects and their meaning. Fourth fact, final position of the traffic unit. So investigator will also consider it. So in the last fact or fifth fact is that the certain scientific principles, especially those mechanics which explains how a moving objects behave, and psychology on which explains reaction and perception time. So in the last facts on where the certain scientific principles that include mechanic and psychology. So through these principles, investigators will gonna know on how accidents takes place through observing and analyzing how a moving objects behave and a reaction and perception that takes time. So in the objective of an accident reconstruction, so dito natin malaman or we're gonna know on why there are a need or kung bakit kailangan talaga ang accident reconstruction in any accidents na nangyayari sa roads or sa mga kalsada. So according dito, accident reconstruction objective is to reach or maabot yung level na they can create or investigators can create conclusion that brings satisfactory to both victims, witnesses, and suspects. And where kaya may accident reconstruction is in order to give an exact conclusion and put those person liable of the accidents and to create more recommendation for the development of road, highways, and road traffic for the safety of vehicles and as well as the person who used those vehicles. The necessity of an accident reconstruction on where katulad ng sinabi ko kanina na ang accident reconstruction is really necessary or importante talaga, most of all if walang witnesses during an accident. So that's why the investigator will conduct the reconstruction based on these 4 important or necessary things. So first necessity of accident reconstruction is the facts available, and where some investigators only focus on making hypotheses or theory and forget also or nakalimutan nila yung most important things na dapat i-focus nila, and that is the facts or mga evidences na available during that accident. So, through those facts, mas mapapadali ang pag-reconstruct nila or ng investigator ng accidents. So, second necessity is the ability of people. And where in these facts or necessity, sometimes reconstructing a crime through the use of theories and reimagining it is so difficult. Mahirap talaga. That's why the ability of people to witness and see things can be a good source talaga in reconstructing an accident. So the third necessity is the on-need basis, and where accidents literally need a complete analysis. Kailangan talaga ng kompletong analysis when it comes to accidents. Kasi it includes justice or it includes para malaman natin kung ano yung pinagmulan, ano yung mga dahilan ng aksidente, at malaman din kung sino yung taong liable for that accident. So, kailangan ng complete analysis. That's why we need to have an on-need basis of evidences na legit talaga at nanggaling pa sa investigator, not with an ordinary person or another investigator, but only an accident investigator talaga. So, in the fourth or last necessity is the time and money. So, of course, an investigator won't have any authorities without the time and money. So, investigation of the evidences is not a simple thing to resolve, because it includes it will spend a time for the investigation to solve, syempre. And it spend also a money for the collection of evidences. Most of all, if people liable to accidents won't cooperate. So, kailangan nila ng time, kailangan nilang money to spend or to make that investigation. So, but despite of those factors and those necessity, still, ang pinaka-importante ay the investigator should not overestimate the accuracy of his work. Overestimating will just ruin or siyang sisira ng sequence of the situation. Hindi ng investigator malaman ang totoong pangyayari, at higit sa lahat, the conclusion won't be satisfactory kung i-overestimate nila yung work nila. And for the next, we will gonna know the method in accident reconstruction, or kung ano ba talaga yung technique in making an accident reconstruction. So, an accident reconstruction is like a jigsaw puzzle na linalaro natin nung bata pa tayo, the jigsaw puzzle. And to be honest, favorite ko talagang pampalipas or pampalipas oras yung pagkukompleto ng puzzle dati. So, but I realized that puzzle will be more difficult to complete, most of all that there are a missing piece na is either itinago or nawawala. So, napakahirap ikumpletuhin yung puzzle na yun kung ganun yung situation or yung mangyari. So, yun talaga yung magiging problema natin in completing the puzzle. So, that's why in the application of puzzle in accident reconstruction is that puzzle pieces represents the evidences collected by the investigators from the accidents. And there are a situation that the investigators felt that there are something missing or a mistakes done in the puzzle. So, meron talagang parang mali na nangyari or mali ang situation. So, that's why in this investigation that's why in this situation, the investigator will gonna analyze if there are evidences or situation being kept that will complete the puzzle pieces. So, mag-i-investigate sila thoroughly kung ano pa talaga yung mali or kulang sa investigation nila. So, that's why the most important method or technique in accident reconstruction is that the investigator should be wise in collecting evidences from an accident. So, particularly in a vehicle accident. So, it is not easy to collect evidences. So, most of all from a damages of a vehicles, because some damages are not included during an accident. Kung saan yung mga damage na yun is not included or hindi kasama pala sa accidents na nangyari during that time. And investigator will be confused in adding it up or not. So, ma-confuse nila or kung i-add nila those damages in their collection of data. So, that will be a puzzle pieces for an investigators. And having a wise thinking will put them into a successful conclusion. So in the approaches in accident reconstruction, so there are two approaches na ginagamit ng investigator in reconstructing an evidences. First approach is the method of basing on physical signs na makikita ng investigator on the scene, kung saan i-determine nila yung position ng traffic units. So second approach is the method of basing according to the situation or condition ng scene, and where these approaches need a thorough observation para malaman talaga on how the accidents started and ended. So that is the two approaches. And in accident reconstruction, meron tayong tinatawag na obstacle. So in this obstacle in accident reconstruction or tinatawag natin na mga problem na maaaring ma-experience sa isang investigator during the reconstruction of an accident. So, the first obstacle is expecting someone to explain what happened. So, merong mga investigators na nagbe-base lang sila or nagasalig ang sanda sa mga explanation na gin-provide it mga witnesses, not knowing if it is true or legit. So they expect someone to explain because they are doubting their own ability in reconstructing the scene. So second obstacles or problem is accepting a ready-made theory, on where an investigator will accept or consider evidences from a person without checking or making sure if it is true, without checking the truthfulness. So on the other side, not all witnesses are a true teller. Some will just give the investigator a false picture or info that will just ruin or will make the reconstruction of accidents more miserable or magpapagulo pa sa investigation ng isang investigator. So the third obstacles or problem is jumping to conclusion. So investigator should not jump or create a conclusion without knowing first what happened at the beginning or without knowing kung ano ba talaga yung nangyari before and after the accidents. So, jumping into conclusion can't help an investigator to make a good conclusion. So, we should don't jump into conclusion kung hindi pa natin alam yung nangyari at the first place, at the first situation or scene ng accidents. Just like kung ano yung sinasabi nila sa movie na don't jump into conclusion. Alamin mo muna yung dahilan. So, in the fourth obstacles is failure to distinguish facts from opinion. So, magkaiba ang facts and opinion na tinatawag. So, if investigator will forget to distinguish these two, maaring it will ruin the reconstruction kasi there are a time na baka i-consider ng investigator na facts yung opinion ng isang witnesses na in the first place, walang kabuluhan or connection to the accidents. That's why the investigator should be wise in distinguishing facts to opinion. So the fifth obstacle is accepting only facts that fit a theory. So these obstacles are just like jumping in conclusion. So may connection silang dalawa. So unaware because investigators already know what happened in the accidents kasi they already collected at madali lang na accident yung nangyari. So they will already disregard other facts and directly make conclusions. So this situation will make the reconstruction more easy, but some evidences will be forgotten or kakalimutan na. So, na dapat yun yung pinaka-importante. Kaya dapat thoroughly analyze talaga the evidences, the scene, and as well as the place at yung mga taong kasangkot sa aksidente. So, the sixth obstacles or problem is the circumstances versus contributing factors. And where dito rin mag-fail ang investigator na magkaiba ang circumstances pala at ang contributing factor. Kaya dapat the investigators are wise and use their common sense. Yun talaga yung pinaka-importante. Use the common sense on the differences between circumstances and contributing factor. And the seventh obstacles or problem is the failure or no, reluctance to think quantitatively. So, in this situation, investigators may fail also because they will just try to diagram the traffic accident without making road and motor vehicle to scale. And the last obstacle and problem is failure to look for confirming facts. So, there are a situation on where nagkakamali ang mga investigator talaga to look for a confirming facts because they just focus on some evidences such as the marks, scratches na akala nila konektado sa aksidente. But in the first place, those scratches is already there before the accident happened. Kaya yun yung technique na dapat pakatandaan ng isang investigator. Dapat they are choose enough to put some evidences in their data kasi hindi lahat ng damages na nakita nila is konektado or during an accident. Some of those is nandoon na before the accidents happen. So in the reconstruction of accidents based on position, so when there are no witnesses or when witnesses are unreliable, so reconstruction from damage of motor vehicles and marks on the road is necessary or important. So there are three parts to this kind of traffic accidents reconstruction. So first is determining position of traffic units with respect to each other during collision. So second is determining position of traffic units on the road during collision, and the third is determining position and speed prior to collision. So the traffic accident investigator must try talaga to forget any theory or theories developed about the occurrence of a traffic accident. So he or she disregard road condition and the intended course of motor vehicles at first. So this is to help to avoid obstacles or problems in making the reconstruction. In accident, meron tayong tinatawag na head-on collision. On where in head-on collision, it is accidental. So accidental siya. One of the accidents na mangyayari, and it is also a violent reaction. And when a two objects collides or magkabanggaan. So that is what we call the head-on collision. If the two vehicles collide towards each other. And in head-on collision, it is the result or the result also will be more miserable if the speed of the movement are both strong and fast. So when those situations happened, it will already be considered that the result will be either a serious injury, death, or a coma towards a person, towards the driver or kung sino man kasangkot sa aksidente, because the speed is more and more pressured. So that's why. So in head-on collision, hindi lang vehicles yung maapektuhan, syempre yung buhay ng isang tao, yung buhay na humahawak ng vehicles na yun. So here we can see in the video about the head-on collision, on how the head-on collision occurred, kung paano mangyari yung head-on collision na tinatawag sa traffic management or sa mga accidents.
So that is how head-on collision occurred. And in this video, we can also see or realize how important the dashcam is. So makita natin yung dashcam na yan in front of the driver, sa pinaka-front talaga, kasi through that dashcam makikita natin kung paano mangyari ang isang aksidente, on how the head-on collision occurred. So that's why importante talaga yung dashcam na yan. Kung walang witnesses, then dashcam can explain everything that will happen. So there are a situation in an accident na tinatawag nating traffic overlap, on where traffic overlap refers to the extent in which one motor vehicle extends into or cross the path of another when they collide. So thus, in a completely head-on collision, the overlap of the two motor vehicles is the entire front of each other. So two vehicles could collide with almost no overlap. So when we say traffic overlap, it is where two vehicles collide to each other. So nagkabanggaan sila, and when their front is pumunta sa another side or sa left side, and isa namang vehicles na nabanggan niya is pumunta sa right side. So that is the traffic overlap. Nag-overlap sila. Lampasan nila ang isa't isa after nilang magkabanggaan. There are also two kinds of damage in an accident, and that is known as the contact damage and the induced damage. So, pag sinabi natin contact damage, it is a damage resulting from indirect contact with some object, on where a contact damage is a damage na nanggagaling talaga or nanggaling directly or nanggaling indirect contact with some objects. Kaya tinatawag siyang contact niya kasi directly contact siya or directly damage siya. So while an induced damage, on the other hand, is a damage produced not by external force but some other parts of a motor vehicles. So it is produced. So yung induced damage is produced not in the external or directly katulad ng contact, but it is a damage by some other parts of a vehicle. So in accident reconstruction, so ano ba talaga ang importansya ng mechanics in accident reconstruction? Mechanics. So mechanics is a branch of physics which deals with what happens when forces act on material objects. So in this lesson, naalala ko lang yung subject namin in high school and as well as senior high schools, all about physics. And in accident reconstruction, physics is really important, because in accident reconstruction contains mga lessons na under ng physics, such as the speed, forces, and as well as momentum. So in that kind of topic or subjects, computations is really needed. In accident reconstruction, there are principles to be followed by investigators in investigating an accident, and those principles followed or based on Newton's law of dynamics. So it is like a basic. So the first principle is an external force that moves a motor vehicle under its own power is frictional force between a road and tire. So that is the first principle. Second principle is the rate of change of momentum is proportional to the force acting on a body and takes place in the direction of the force. The third principle is the forces between the motor vehicles in collision are always equal and opposite to each other at any distance. In accident reconstruction, so meron din tayong tinatawag na momentum. So there are a momentum happened or nangyari. So when we say momentum, it is the quantity motion na meron ang body natin. So it is part of measuring also in accident reconstruction, because the quantity of motion na meron yung body natin can add up as a factor in accident. So here is the explanation about the momentum.
Both of these cars have the same mass, and both are traveling at the same speed, 30 miles per hour. Like the eggs, they have equal momenta. As a result, it will take equal impulses to reduce their momenta to zero. One car will stop by panic braking, and the other by normal braking. If both drivers are belted so they decelerate with their vehicles, the driver of the car on the bottom will experience more force than the driver on top. This is because if the impulses must be equal to decelerate each car's momentum to zero, the driver that stops in less time or distance must experience a larger force and the higher deceleration.
So in accident reconstruction, or accident to be specific, there are tinatawag nating centered force and eccentric force, on where an eccentric force is one in which directed towards the center of a mass of the object to which it is applied, and where this centered force, so kaya siya tinatawag or tinawag na centered force because the force is directed papunta sa gitna, on where in the situation na mabangga yung vehicles na yan, or mabangga yung kotse. So the force will be directed in front or in the center. It means mapupunta yung driver na yon towards at the front or at the front, because the force is directed towards the center or in the front. So while the eccentric force is one in which is not directed towards the center of mass of the object to which it is applied, but to one side of the center, and where yung eccentric force, so unlike the center force, yung eccentric force naman ay directed siya papunta sa gilid or side of the center. So in a situation na ma-aksidente yung vehicles na yun, so yung driver is mapupunta sa side, not in front, kasi eccentric force siya. So matatabog siya at the side, not in front. So in the location of a motor vehicles, so determining the location of motor vehicles with respect to each other is sometimes useful. Yes, so useful to itself. So to test the truth of statement about how they collide and does not, or however tell how the accident happened, except that the amount of damage may be some indication of speed. So the damage that an investigator will see in the motor vehicles, an indication will be sign of the speed, on what kind of speed a vehicles had during or before the accident. So therefore, locating the key point by placing motor vehicles on the roadway is important to determine which among them was on the wrong side in a head-on collision. So in doing so, make a diagram of the accident location using the same scale as patterns of the motor vehicles. So determining the location of motor vehicles is very important, because through it, dahil doon, investigators will know what really mistaken that lead into accidents, kung ano ba talaga yung naging mali, kung ano ba talaga nangyari that can nangyari on why that accidents happened, and who among the vehicle ang nasa maling posisyon or nasa maling condition that led to the accidents. So after natin malaman all about accident reconstruction, kung ano ba talaga ang kahulugan ng accident reconstruction, ano ang mga principles under the accident reconstruction, at kung paano gawin ang accident reconstruction and everything that may occur during an accident. So for the last, we will also know kung ano ba talaga ang purpose, kung bakit kailangan ng accident reconstruction in an accident or in road traffic. So traffic accidents really resulted into a improper interaction on where damages injury, and even death or death of the three components: the road user, the vehicle, and as well as the roads. So that's why in this situation, kung saan marami nang nangyayari, there are also there are already death, injury, damage, and everything. That's why in this situation, accident reconstruction is really important or necessary, mas lalo na kung walang witnesses during an accident. So accident reconstruction will tell everything. So accident reconstruction will investigate, analyze, and conclude on events and causes in a collision between a vehicle and another vehicle. So a pedestrian also, or a roadside object. So that is the purpose of an accident reconstruction. So the outcome of the traffic injury or fatality case, civil or liability or insurance dispute often hinges on the testimony of an accident reconstruction expert. So accident reconstruction also rely heavily on the correct application of physics, mathematics, and vehicle dynamics, as well as a balanced evaluation of human and environmental factors. So accidents or accident reconstruction is really important, and accident reconstruction is also not a simple thing to do. So because investigators should really need to have a deep understanding, a common sense, and a wise thinking also in choosing an evidences that will truly lead into conclusion. So accident reconstruction is also not just all about investigation siya. So not just that. So accident reconstruction also includes a lot of a combination such as the mathematics, the physics, and as well as the evaluation of human environment factors. And to be honest, hindi kakayanin ito ng ordinaryong tao because it took a lot of time, effort, and as well as a deep knowledge in making an accident reconstruction. And right now, we will know what is accident reconstruction already. It will already be clear to us kung ano yung purpose niya on how important accident reconstruction, not just in road, not just to road users, not just to vehicle users, but as well as to us as an ordinary person. Most of all, if accidents occurs in our life. And that's all, man. Thank you. And again, I am Hannah Grace in Obligar, third year Section C of Criminology, reporting the Chapter 12 entitled Accident Reconstruction. And that's all. Thank you.